Shakespeare said, first kill all the lawyers. I think we can prove him wrong. To get the right diagnosis in the right amount of time can make the difference. But also for a lawyer, it's the same thing. A couple years, I just drove around and I stopped at different places as a lawyer under Spector Law Group, the law truck, doing law on wheels.
Welcome to Celebrating Justice, presented by the Trial Lawyers Journal and CloudLex, the next-gen legal cloud platform built exclusively for personal injury law. Get inspired by the nation's top trial lawyers and share in the stories that shape our pursuit of justice. Follow the podcast and join our community at triallawyersjournal.com. Now here's your host, editor of TLJ and VP of Marketing at CloudLex, Chad Sands.
Welcome back, friends, to Celebrating Justice. In this episode, we welcome Maryland trial lawyer Yale Spector. Over the course of his career, Yale reimagined how he could serve his community and literally hit the road. With his custom-built law bus, he parked in neighborhoods and invited people in for free legal advice. To get to the stories of prayer, health scares, and determination, I asked him, why did you want to become a trial lawyer?
My origin story comes from family. My grandfather was a lawyer. Didn't know much about what he did till the end. I knew that he played a part in The Hague after World War II, where he was commissioned to take some of the Nazi war criminals, make sure that they were in their right places and that testimonies were taken and things like that. That I knew later. During my childhood life, it was my father who was the lawyer, and my father was always present, but I knew that he was always busy. He, a solo practitioner, would go out. It's upsetting when your dad leaves, but he says, I got to go get the papers. I'll be right back. And he always came back. He was always there for holidays and he never missed a beat. My dad basically worked for the Baltimore City government on one hand, where he was a solicitor. And in those days, you could also have a private practice. And so he was able to do that. And the reason I realized why he was running so much was because he would work during the day, a 9 to 5, and then he would then run to go make the real money through accident work, criminal work, whatever it might have been. So as we grew, we see that. And that's where, obviously from a standpoint of my brother, who's 5 years older than I am, it's just the two of us. That's where the mail came from, not the mail from the post office. I'm talking your maleness. That's your guide. We're going to be lawyers. That's what we're going to be.
Both you and your brother kind of had decided that?
Yeah. I think we both were in that decision making. All through growing up, our dinner table discussions were lively and there was open forum for discussion. And my dad was a voracious reader, so he would always read the topics of the day and keep us posted and talk, well, how do you feel about it? Or how would you argue this point? And so we did that. Later in life, when my mom was able to, she went back to law school from teaching and practiced for quite some time. And she concentrated in divorce work. So she and my father practiced for a very long time together. And that area of law exhausted her, but she learned a lot.
Family law. Divorce.
Law.
Yeah.
So our guide was, as we went into colleges, it's kind of like the unspoken, we're going to just take over the family practice. We're going to just take over the family practice. So that's where we were headed. My brother went to college. I went to college. He went to law school. I went to law school. My brother became a lawyer before me. My dad always just encouraged us to try other of the bigger law firms just to see what's like out there.
Like when you started out as a younger lawyer?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the bigger firms. Just don't come into something ready-made that you may not like. It may not be which. So both of us did that. My brother did big law for a long time, and so did I.
And was this all in Maryland then?
We stayed in Maryland, and we're also Maryland barred in D.C. And that also evolved because both my brother and I concentrated on doing medical malpractice work. This is the early 1990s and the 2000s. There wasn't a lot of people really going after medical malpractice. It wasn't as big as it is now. A lot of firms were starting to pick up on it. So we were developing and trying to bring a niche into that. My dad was doing a lot of workers' compensation, personal injury, other injury type cases, also dabbling in medical malpractice. And then we were learning medical malpractice through big firm plaintiff environments throughout the year.
And so when you went to the big firms, I guess both you and your brother, was it on the plaintiff side?
Yes. I always started on the plaintiff side, learned all the tricks of the trades on that. the ups, the downs, the expenses, the costs, the highs, the lows. And we did that for many, many years.
Were you able to see a lot of trial work as a younger attorney at that big law plaintiff firm? I mean, I hear a lot that if you join the defense firms, you'll get some trial experience, but did you get into trial at that big plaintiff's firm?
Yes. Fortunately for the firms that I chose, a couple things happened is that one, we at the time were able to get out-of-state cases that we were not necessarily licensed to practice law in. People wanted us to actually try their case, and we had to then get pro hoc viced in to the state. And so that became sort of our calling card, that we would go to other states and try these cases for you because we have had proven success. A lot of people thought in their hometown they're not going to get a fair shake. Plaintiff lawyer knows doctor. Plaintiff knows plaintiff. It depends on where you go. And the smaller the towns that we realized, the more so we realized that people were actually looking outside of their county lines to get a smaller group of law firms were targeting that, which less manpower, which gave us the opportunity as a young lawyer to get out there and really do the trench work, the depots, the traveling, which was a big part of it. These guys who already had families and this and that didn't want to travel. We were young bucks ready to go.
And they were taking on these cases from out of state and sending you guys out to do the boots on the ground and in the trenches.
Right. We got the cases set up for them, teed up, and they wanted to be out there. And we would say, okay. And we made it nice for them and we're there for them if they needed us.
Right.
Sometimes they said, this is yours. I don't have time to get to this one in Oregon. I don't have time to go to, and we're from the East Coast, Texas, or you guys are handling this one. So I think by just fortune that, yes, we did get a lot of experience doing a lot of our own legal work.
And then when did you kind of leave big law and come back to the family firm?
The short story is I was called in because of some of my litigation skills. Here in Maryland, we had a Exxon leak that occurred in a town which required a lot of manpower and a lot of trial litigation manpower. And so I was called in to that firm to initially help with them because they wanted to take the case on. I was morphed into this trial team for the gas litigation, which went on forever.
And so you were working on this Exxon case about this oil spill?
Correct.
What happened with that case? And did that get dragged on for like a decade?
Yeah, of course. As you're working on your depositions for your Exxon case, your medical malpractice case might want to settle. I'm still doing that. So it's a very stressful time. Things are popping. The Exxon case eventually went to a quite large of a verdict and resolved. At the end of that term, I was really beat. I was exhausted from the trial work. I was exhausted from not being around at home. I was exhausted from seeing, honesty, where the flow of money went for people. And I also saw there were people who were clients across the country who had legitimate claims of injuries and damages related to medical malpractice specifically that could not get into a room with a lawyer because the laws are against them for whatever reason or what other. Statute of limitations or caps or how their particular state has a history of doing settlements or trial verdicts. I felt a calling. My dad was getting near retirement age. My brother had firmly planted himself with a very dear friend of his as a partner. It was sort of a choice at that time to say, what do I really want to do?
Like the idea in the conversations back when you and your brother were kind of growing up, and this idea of you guys taking over the family firm, and that's how our lives are going to unfold as life and time goes on. You started to see that maybe wasn't going to come together, and you kind of saw your path.
Yeah, I just saw things that were just not happening, just melding. And I think that was good because I think it kind of forced me to start thinking, now what? So I went in and I opened up private practice for myself with the help of some other guys that came off of the Exxon case. I did that with the idea that because now I'm a solo practitioner, I have the idea that now I will be able to take on cases, help more people. Of course, you want the big one. Of course, you want the one that's oh my gosh, this is going to be the thing. But I took on many cases that weren't. And I took on many cases that were rejected by other law firms because the economic value wasn't there.
And was this specifically kind of following your med-mal?
Followed my med-mal.
Okay.
I opened up my doors and I opened up my eyes to the different parts of the body on the human, anything and everything. Nothing went past my desk. There wouldn't be a look at trying to develop something for somebody. Mistakes happen in all fields. It's just the way it is. That's how I started my firm on my own in the very beginning and had just a great time. It tended towards nursing home because the nursing home cases then became lucrative. You could then get them sort of into a cutter fashion kind of case. You had your list of experts. Those were sort of ready-made cases. It opened up doors for me to explore other areas of medicine or cases in medicine that I probably would have shied away from. I opened the door because it's not just one person getting this procedure. It's a human, it's a woman getting a procedure for whatever reason in Minnesota that she is totally disfigured. There's no wherewithal to go out and see if anybody else has had this problem before and if there's a standard of care to do it, rather than just being pushed off. And so doing nursing home cases, I went out and told lawyers, don't reject any medical malpractice cases, anything medical related. It could be ears, eyes, nose, throat, teeth, elbow, thumb, private part area, go all the way down, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Let me look at it. In most states, you have to have a doctor in the field of study to look at your records, which is a stopgate for medical malpractice attorneys. It's a stopgate for us just to frivolously file lawsuits all over the place.
Right. Like a doctor has to review your
Absolutely.
files before you can even, okay.
We have to vet these. We may get 10 cases and one might be a good case. It doesn't see the door with a signature unless a doctor from the specialty for that which that case is about has said, I've looked at it. I think something is medically related. I can go up onto the stand and tell you what happened was wrong because X, Y, and Z.
And he or she then kind of becomes one of your experts, I assume.
And then he or she becomes our experts. The hard thing with the medical malpractice cases because they want their time. I mean, obviously, they're stepping away from their patient visits. They're stepping away from their home life. So again, I don't say that every law firm that says no to somebody is cold-hearted. The unfortunate thing is that you just can't do everything. And I just told these lawyers, look, I'm willing to bring on some of these lawyers that want to get into the business of being expert witnesses and being known, maybe taking some swings at some lower level cases or things like that. And of course, you build up reputations, you build up a lot of things where it just makes it easier for me to make a sale on that aspect of it.
So you're focusing in on this med-mal niche to kind of grow your firm. You have all these relationships across the country, taking these cases. I mean, I hear a lot like the newer guys are like, hey, send me any case you got, you know what I mean? But you weren't even that. You were like, no, I just want med-mal. Send me all your med-mal. Right. And that's how you kind of slowly started to grow your firm.
And I think in even one of your volumes of your book just discusses just referral relationship. What's wonderful is what I've been able to do is that talking to me now in this century with phones and with communication the way we have it. So I get people who call me from a state who've been in a car accident. Now, I'm not necessarily going to take that case.
Right.
Maybe I'm not barred. It's not worth them for me to do it. I'm not law. So I call my friend who I knew down there who helped me out with my medical malpractice case that he helped me get barred for that moment. Hey, remember that case we did 10 years ago? Wasn't that a good time? But hey, listen, for some reason, this auto case guy called me.
Yeah.
It could be a workers' comp case. It could be anything. The referral stream now, and now that we're all advertising on the World Wide Web, that we're doing these Zoom things, now that there is increased searches for lawyers, oftentimes they don't know where people are calling. They're just looking for the best. They're just looking for these signals, these words. We all have 800 numbers. We all have this and this. While someone might call me and say, oh, from Oregon. Hey, I'm from Oregon. I was just doing some research and I really liked your website and I want you to handle my cease and desist order out here. I said, well, sir, I really can't. I'm not that kind of lawyer, and also I don't work in Oregon, but I have a guy that I know. I'm happy to hook you up with him. Let me take your information. So now I have his information for my letterhead that goes out whenever, my yearly thing. I have his birthday, so I can wish him a happy birthday. But then I say, call my friend, and now he'll help you. You're like, I can't eat this fish, but my buddy over there, he loves to cook those fish. So I'm going to send him over to you. That's how my firm basically operated all the way up until COVID. It was a machine of trying to keep up with marketing, different ways to keep marketing, staying ahead of the big guys who can outspend you in a minute. They used to just come in, but now they're coming in and opening up offices and employing attorneys from here to man those offices. So now they can say, we truly have an office here. I think I saw somewhere now where there's a 20 or 25% rate increase in law school applications. Thank God. But these big firms out here are making it very highly competitive.
I mean, so speaking of these big firms and the competitiveness of the world of personal injury, what makes you unique? How do you stand out then?
Right now, it's still a work in progress.
As always.
At COVID, my wife was a practicing attorney, was then still a practicing attorney. She does patent work. She was working from home. I had 3 children working at home, and I had to work at home. There was a lot of Wi-Fi usage where we're going to do this space, all this, that. Prior to that, maybe 2019, I am personally struggling with my future. Do I really want to do this law? It's like knocking me out. Client acquisition, marketing, all those marketers are coming at you day after day, trying to keep up with who's paying what for paralegals, all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's getting nasty, 2019. I'm like, well, maybe I'll shift to do something else. Maybe I'll become a cook. Maybe I'll do that. So my wife and I are joking in the kitchen because we cook together. She says, I don't think really cooking's your speed. Like, all of a sudden give up law. Let's think about it. I said, yeah, but I'll get a truck because trucks were starting to big.
Yeah, food trucks.
I'll get a truck and I'll meet people. I'll be out there. She says, I don't know. She says, you might be better just flipping law out of a truck. I said, what do you mean? She says, well, just like talking about law from a truck. So in 2019, I don't know how many of your listeners are, but we're faithful to a higher power than us, to God. And we were doing some praying around what I should be doing. It comes from an old story where this is a guy who it hadn't rained in the desert forever and ever. And he drew a big circle and he sat in the circle and he prayed forever till it rained. And eventually it rained. And he said, then God, thank you. And he said, I just want more rain. Just keep rain, rain, rain inside the circle. So my wife and I and some family members, with their help, we drew our circle and made a decision that we're going to decide where is my law career going to go? Where am I best suited? The idea came up to buy a 30-foot travel RV, get it wrapped and decked, got rid of my brick and mortar, hooked it up to my SUV. For the next couple years, I just drove around and I stopped at different places as a lawyer under Spector Law Group, the law truck, doing law on wheels, and just had a fantastic time. I had a time just meeting people because I realized that everybody's got a problem. They're walking into BJ's, Wendy's, the grocery store. They saw me in the parking lot. They stopped by for 5 minutes and they asked me a question about a case. I did that for a number of years.
Did you buy the truck before COVID hit?
Bought the truck before COVID.
Wow.
And so when COVID hit, I brought it here and made it my personal office. The kids were in here doing all their Zoom. My wife had her private office in the house, and I could do my private office. It was definitely timed by God that I had that ability.
That prayer circle worked.
It worked. Actually, my first day out, I pulled up to a parking lot, a place I hadn't been before. And I said, God, we've done all this praying. I'm not challenging you. I'd love to see something good. And this young guy drove up next to me. He's like, I have to bother you. I'm from out of state, from the state over. He says, I took a wrong turn. I'm looking to get back on the expressway. I'm trying to find this lawyer's office. I said, well, what kind of lawyer? He goes, well, this, that, and told him the story. I said, well, I'm a lawyer. He goes, no, don't you see what I'm hauling on the back of my thing? It's a 30-foot truck that says like law all over. He goes, sir, I've been driving for hours and hours, but now that you say it, you're right. You are a lawyer. You're a law truck. And I said, do you want to talk about it? He said, yeah. I said, okay, let's do it. And that was my first client from the law truck. It was definitely God putting him there. He took a wrong turn, and that happened over and over again. Through the years, we evolved. We did community events. We did church events. We did any food market events. We were just helping people out.
Yeah.
By the way, what's your problem? And just getting to know them because they don't have 5 minutes to run into a lawyer's office.
Yes.
And make an appointment. They just want to say, here's my stack of papers. Can you look at them while I go run into BJ's and fill my order up so I can feed? We did that service for them. We did that service to differentiate myself and get back my enthusiasm about the law. The law truck, LAW, is L.A.W. Legal Assistance on Wheels. The law truck came into being. And I went with that. Went all over town, hitched up, and went to different parts of my cities and just made myself available. Opened the door It had Wi-Fi, it had printer, places to sit, heat when it was cold and air when it was hot, and you could come in and people came in, and it was a blessing.
I mean, it's almost like either a reality show or a TV series of this lawyer driving around in his RV kind of, who's just taking on cases.
Sometimes I get kicked out and have to
Uh-huh.
roll up and move to the next.
The manager of Big Five Sporting Goods comes out and asks you can't be parked here.
Can't be parked here. I said, okay. I had some really good times there. There's another way to market. I didn't want to be that non-serious lawyer working out of a trailer, like maybe he's not going to get me the big money. And I had a little bit of backing. I could tell them what I've done in the last 20 years that I was a lawyer. I wouldn't have recommended it to a lawyer coming right out of the box. But again, let's say from a marketing perspective, getting a cheap vehicle, putting some stickers on it so people see it, because people are always snapping pictures, taking pictures, whatever it might be, some clever design. Get out there and just do something different.
Well, and you never know who's going grocery shopping or getting food or gas or something who is like, oh my God, there's a lawyer right here. I can talk to somebody about something that I've not talked to anyone about because of X, Y, and Z.
I can't tell you how many times people said, gosh, I can't believe you're right here pumping gas next to me because my dad's in a nursing home and I've been suffering. And it's just, or we just had this issue at our house, or my son and Felicity just got locked up and we have no idea what to do.
So did you carry that all through COVID?
I carried it all through COVID.
You were ahead of the curve in terms of a remote office and getting rid of your brick and mortar and that overhead. And then COVID came and you actually still had your law office.
What this whole COVID thing taught us is like we can get things without having to make appointments, get into a building, go up an elevator, sit in a waiting room, and then sit at a big table to talk to somebody for 15 minutes and then leave and pay a parking ticket.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are never going to die. We're still going to have to go to certain things, but there's certain things that can change.
Well, and I would say right now also AI is kind of forcing that a little bit even more in a different way. So are you still solely on the law track or did you open? Yep. You're still just doing.
Yeah. I shake my head. So I was doing that. And then I started back up doing community affairs in 2023. Unfortunately, in September of 2023, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which was a blow.
That's a capital C cancer.
Yeah, that's a capital C. So I put some things on pause, obviously concentrated on my health, doing treatments and all that kind of thing, made it to the year mark of survival. I had colleagues who were helping me out through the year of 23 to 24. Now I'm into 25. And now into 25, I'm still out there, but it's a revision of it. There's a legal systems on wheels aspect of it. My goal is to come to where you are in life. I think a lawyer who's an obligation is to do that, is to make themselves available to people wherever, whenever possible. It should be part of the code. Anyway, my wife said, look, let's just close this chapter.
Right.
Let's get you healthy. Let's get you back. Let's get you doing your thing. When God is ready to open up a chapter, he will. He's going to do it for you. He did it for it once, another circle, and we'll jump in and we'll see what happens. So in the meantime, I said, fine. I had left my trailer at an unsavory light rail stop. So I brought it home on a particular Monday. And I was scheduled to leave for some medical treatment on Wednesday. And my wife was not interested in having the unit there for the 8 months that I was going to be dedicating away for treatment. Again, I said, Lord, if you have something for this unit, I'm open. Whatever you want to do. Monday night, I did my Facebook marketplace listing. Didn't say anything. I didn't say they had to be out of here. And I just said, this is what it is. And it's here for the taking. And then all the calls come, you're too high, you're this. I said, okay, whatever. A guy called me from Virginia and said, hey, I've seen this, and now I'm seeing it on your website. I know that he would allow me to tell his story because that's how God works, is the story to the story to the story. He came with his wife and he said, look, we can't make it in apartments the way our health and our salaries are going. The apartments are bad. We just can't do it. We have a piece of land that my father has, and he'll let us pull the trailer on there for a while. If he'll let us buy it, he'll do it. He said, we've been praying on this particular thing for a long time. Tuesday night, he came and we prayed. He hooked it up to his friend's beat up old pickup truck and closed a nice little chapter on that particular way of doing something, which I think has opened up a way for me to provide legal services for people who don't. There's a portion in scripture that just says, speak up for the ones that don't speak up for themselves, fight for the ones that can't. I think it's under Proverbs. That's sort of like where I'm heading to my legal career.
Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God.
That's right. I want to prove Shakespeare wrong. I mean, Shakespeare said, first kill all the lawyers. I think we can prove him wrong.
I think so.
Through all that, I've still had to maintain the conventions of law. And those never changed. Your filings, your structure, there's still things that you have to do.
Your CLE credits.
Everything. You still got to do it. You still got to maintain it all. So that's where I am.
So let's get to the stories. Can you share a story about a case that had a significant impact on you?
Yeah, I can. I have 2 medical malpractice stories. Medical malpractice cases are often difficult because I dealt with a lot of birth injury cases. And so oftentimes when the baby was born, they were already born with defects. They looked differently and they cried differently and they were just different. And so my first one was this trial out in Oregon. And it was such a case where the delivery was labored. They did not get the child out fast enough, not enough oxygen, blood flow, and all that. And so that baby came out looking different. You knew there's a sadness for that family. They were working so hard to get a healthy family. That was back in 2020. We went to a trial. We went to verdict. We got them a very large sum of money for daycare, for nursing care, for education, for all that. The doctor said, look, Mom, he's not going to live past 6 months. He's not going to live past a year. He won't be able to do this. He won't be able to do that. But with the money that we got him through the case, he was able to graduate high school. He graduated college in his form, still with catastrophic disabilities, but he's thriving. He's living a life where he rides bikes. People talk about like this money grab, millions for the client and this, that, and the other thing. Well, yeah, lawyers get paid, but the family gets this money too. And this money goes to things that are very important, very important. Or the mom still will email me and just said, oh, by the way, he's just turned 22. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. On the flip side, I've had a case where the child was born normal. And unfortunately, due to medical negligence, they let the child dehydrate too much. And the child suffered from brain damage. It was a male child. I walked into the room and you could see that he had all of the features, all of the looks of a child who was born normally. Did not have the significant looks of brain damage and all that. But he just could not walk, could not talk, was totally devastated because of the brain damage post thing. And to sit there and to have a conversation with the father, I was about to be a young father, and just sit there and just say like what it must feel like to at one point you have a normal anticipated child. You're not anticipating that you're going to have all these medical expenses. And when you had a normal child, that if you looked at him, you would say he just looks like a normal kid, but he's just not. That was one that really stuck with me forever on the, I don't want to say negative, because again, we got them money to help them. What doctors do is wonderful. And the seconds in time that can change somebody's life, being able to listen to somebody, to notify somebody, to get the right diagnosis in the right amount of time can make the difference in the world. But also for a lawyer, it's the same thing. Like to see something, to make that, we see that there is a problem here, and there needs to be some kind of compensation, and to get this person, this boy or girl, a lifestyle that will be suitable. It's the same thing. It's to be able to say the same thing, to say like, now I can see that there's that moment in time where I'm called to make it right. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. It has no comment on the doctor, has no comment on the lawyer. It is just what it is.
At CloudLex, we understand the unique demands and opportunities that personal injury law firms face every day. That's why we've built a comprehensive platform designed exclusively for personal injury law. Our seamless case management, AI engine, litigation support, and record retrieval solutions empower you at every stage, from intake through settlement and beyond, helping you stay productive, organized, and focused on achieving successful outcomes for your clients. Explore what's possible at cloudlex.com. Now, here is this episode's closing argument.
Looking back on my legal career, I can say with certainty that Proverbs 31, 8 through 9 has been both my anchor and my guide. Proverbs reads, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy." This verse has shaped not only how I see the law, but why I practice it. Every case, every client, every challenge has reminded me that my duty is not only to argue skillfully, but to give voice to those who otherwise might not be heard. It has called me to see beyond the surface of legal disputes and legal accolades to the human dignity at stake. When the work has been heavy, the scripture has given me clarity. Justice is not an abstract concept. It is a calling. It demands courage to stand firm, wisdom to judge fairly, and compassion to ensure that those who are vulnerable are not forgotten. So if I have remained steadfast in this profession, with all the highs and lows, it is because this passage has continually reminded me of the sacred responsibility I carry as an advocate. To speak up, to stand up, and to ensure that justice is not reserved for the powerful, but extended to all.
That was trial lawyer Yale Spector. Thanks for sharing your stories. To learn more about Yale and the Law Bus, visit his website, spectorlawgroup.com. All right, I'm Chad Sands. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
You've been listening to Celebrating Justice, presented by Cloudlex and the Trial Lawyers Journal. Remember, the stories don't end here. Visit triallawyersjournal.com to become part of our community and keep the conversation going. And for a deeper dive into the tools that empower personal injury law firms, visit cloudlex.com/TLJ to learn more.